The closing remarks of the father. My son, you surely have many questions about my strategy in the seemingly momentous economic and political crises that are shaking national and international affairs. You and I will begin handling them in detail shortly. For tonight, let me be brief. Most of the current national upheavals are stage managed to consolidate our monopoly position in government and business against the continual nuisance of economically competent but politically naive competitors. Likewise, most international crises are managed to exert pressure on our obstreperous, reluctant, puppet dictators in underdeveloped areas. These events are fairly easy to manage. I expect to place such management in your hands as soon as possible. The real challenge lies in dealing with my international peers. These are the real crises, since they are crises of my power structure, not just of my subject populations and puppets. In the vast chess game with my peers, there are no rules and no proven tactics. Mutual vulnerability alone limits the conflict. My peers and I have laboured for decades to erect a world government and banking system under which we could all share finance capitalism's millennium without the nightmare of internecine warfare. With the advent of nuclear war, a new world order seemed particularly desirable. I say ostensibly we have laboured for world government because none of us are sure the others will ever voluntarily surrender sovereignty to the group. The schedule set after the last World War has not been met. So far, the world government idea has served mainly to enthuse collectivist intellectuals and secondarily to veil each finance capitalist manoeuvres for supremacy from the rest. The future course of finance capitalism is difficult to predict. Our empires are too fragile to risk all-out battles for supremacy amongst ourselves. Our power would dissipate to second echelon wealthy during the struggle. Yet we continue to chip away at rival empires on the premise that offence is the best defence. On the other hand, purely political leaders are helpless before our money power. When Caesars arise, they are of our making. Perhaps our system will simply remain much as it is, secure on the national level and disturbingly pluralistic at the international level, until reason and egoism have developed among our populations to such an extent that our occult technology of money power becomes obvious to all who think and must yield to either anarchy or a more advanced form of deception. Okay, then came the afterword by the transcriber. I read the beginning of that at in the first video. I'll just go over that in case the names of some of these banking families are familiar to all of us and should be more so. They include Baring, Lazard, Erlanger, Warburg, Schroeder, Seligman, the Speyers, Mirabaud, Mallet, Fold, and above all Rothschild and Morgan. That was from Dr. Carol Quigley, Tragedy and Hope. The transcriber says at the end of, and this can all be found, you can copy and paste it, I think, from our website, strawmanburners.com. The transcriber says, I am providing a bibliography of relevant historical works to aid the curious reader. I have included no works written from spurious pluralistic suppositions. No one seems to consider pluralism as a proposition requiring evidence, since they are flooding the market. Unfortunately, many works listed affirm that ideas rather than individual struggles for wealth and power propel history. That is, they view the elites they observe ruling the world as ideologically motivated. Thus we have the spectacle of the right claiming that major finance capitalists such as the Rockefellers or Rothschilds are communists, conspirators or socialists. On the other hand, we see the left claiming that the same people are bent on imposing laissez-faire capitalism or in a slightly more realistic vein, are fanatical proponents of fascism. Virulent white racism is another ideology foolishly ascribed to the ruling class by the left. This opinion is nicely balanced by the charge from the right the elite wants to mongrelize and thus submerge the white race. As usual, the elite, completely free of prejudice, supports both sides of this battle for its own ends. As should be clear by now, I believe that finance capitalists, Ferdinand Lundberg has dubbed them finpols or financial politicians, are understandably attempting to make their power as extensive as possible without incurring the severe risks which plague public politicians. It seems that only the most daring financial politicians are willing to take on the additional risks of public political dumb. Perhaps only because they are denied the reins to the family's fortune by more privileged relatives. Public politicians lose their privacy and thus their right to sexual impropriety, in addition to incurring vulnerability to electioneering, and worse in democratic countries. In most areas of the world, the lot of the public politician is even worse. Purge, assassination, and armed coup are regular events, while totalitarianism of right or left at home eliminates the shield of secure private property desired by financial politicians. Laissez-faire is likewise rejected out of hand as hell on earth by enlightened power seekers. Egoism, mitigated only by the reality of circumstance, is the motive to realistically attribute it to healthy elites. An elite under the spell of mental spooks could not hold sway for long. Although financial politicians' statism is increasingly a crisis for its victims, there is as yet no evidence that the elite itself is in serious crisis. Even inflation, the current crisis for the powerless, is simply another crisis to be managed toward the end of consolidating, extending, and refreshing elite power. No doubt the depression which must inevitably follow will be managed to even better effect at the expense of the masses. And then he explains the bibliography at the end of this piece. Here's another quote by Francis Bacon. We are much beholden to Machiavelli and others that write what men do and not what they ought to do. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Quoting, this material was taken from Economic Determinism and the Conspiracy Theory of History Revisited, America's Great Depression, Tragedy and Hope, which was Carol Quigley, Gabriel Colco, The Triumph of Conservatism, Carol Quigley, The Evolution of Civilizations, Anton S. Levy, The Satanic Bible, Avon Books, Archon Darrell, Secret Societies, Count Egon Caesar Corti, The Rise of the House of Rothschild, The Reign of the House of Rothschild, Max Stirner, The Ego and His Own, Robert Ardrey, The Social Contract, Friedrich Nietzsche, Beyond Good and Evil, Prelude to a Philosophy of the Future, George Orwell, Animal Farm, Niccolo Machiavelli, The Prince, Ludwig von Mises, Theory and History, Henry Regenere, Human Action, James J. Martin, Revisionist Viewpoints, Committee on Government Operations, U.S. Senate, Disclosure of Corporate Ownership, U.S. Government Printing Office, 1974, Anthony C. Sutton, Wall Street and the Bolshevik Revolution. It goes on and on. Oh, there's all kinds of Wall Street going, the rich and the super rich, America 60 family, who, yeah, right, okay. The money question, David, report on a Rockefeller. The history of the great American fortunes. Collective speeches of Congressman McFadden, the Federal Reserve Bank, oh, it goes on and on and on. Captains and kings, proofs of conspiracy. That makes it a wrap, folks.
So, all your children rise up, go on strike.
Totally.
Don't go to school anymore.